If I'm one of the girls and I'm watching this first episode right now, I'd be like, fuck.
Right. What am I?
This guy
am I
has money. I should have tried a little bit harder to cause a little less drama.
right? Am I dating like the heir to a fortune? Like what's going on,
Right. Hello and welcome to the Betchelor Podcast. I'm Kay York City.
And I am Jared Freid. It is so good to be back here with you, Kay York. How are you? We've kicked it off. Episode 1 in the books.
It felt good.
Grant Ellis' season. Did it? How do you feel? How did you feel about this episode?
I felt good about it. I think I was very excited to see the show again. It feels like it's been way longer than it actually has. But then, we talked last episode. We feel like we haven't really gotten any info on Grant on this season at all. It's kind of had a very lackluster marketing plan.
Right. Not a lot of talk, not a lot of chatter. The lead is never the most important player on the show.
No.
The cast, it's the women, it's the arguing, it's the dates, it's the drama. That comes from the cast. And I think this episode hinted at, like, it was a lot of being polite, but you could see there were moments where people were like, you could see the real
there was
people
character
were showing
development there. Yeah.
You're right. So this episode was a slow burn to me. But I mean, before we get into it, I guess we should go to the Betchelor news desk. We have Betchelor news. In a Cutesville station story, Sandra Mason from Gary's season of The Bachelor, who Sandra was beloved. She is
loved Sandra.
People love Sandra. She is now dating Charles King, CK. His name kind of turned into CK from the last season of The Golden Bachelorette. How do we feel about this?
I feel like it makes sense. You have Sandra, who doesn't look like she'd be kooky, but she's kind of kooky. She has her like fuck thing, and then you have CK.
Right, she was the swearing woman. Right.
Yeah. But then you have CK, who comes out of the limo and he's doing push-ups, and this is
incredible shape.
I can't believe we didn't see this in the first place.
CK had great energy. He was always wearing a pendant, like he was always wearing a big necklace that didn't make sense. I think they showed him doing like karate or something. He's in incredible shape. Happy for them. This is kind of, this shows you how miserable the miseries are, because there were people that were talking shit on the Golden franchise. It's sad. Oh, these old people, they're going to go on. And it was older people. It was all ages. The miseries came out. And what ended up happening from the show is these people went on an adventure of a lifetime. They were put out there in ways that every single person, no matter what age, would like to be shown. They were shown in a positive light. And these two people find each other. They find someone they never would have found without the show. This is it.
This is what we wanted to come out of the Golden Bachelor. Like, I don't need it to be the couple that, Joan and Chalk or Gary and Teresa. I just want these people who we have come to love to find each other. And what best than like the two shows together? They didn't even need Paradise.
We've been asking for Bachelor, Golden Bachelor and Boca. This is a version of that. We've been asking for the older version of Bachelor in Paradise. I think this should tell us, like, we need that show. Maybe we don't even do an older version. We mix all the ages and just see what happens. See who goes which way. You don't know.
I would love that.
Right?
I would love that.
Love Island with the Goldens and the regular Bachelor. That'd be fun.
This would be, MILF Central mixed with. I mean, I love that idea. I think they should mix them in. See what happens. Go crazy.
In our second story, our final story, Braden Bowers and Christina Mandrell secretly eloped. They are officially married. What do you think about? How do you feel about them getting married, being eloped? Eloped is married, right?
Eloped. You just get married. You just don't have like the wedding, and you don't really tell anybody. It just kind of happens.
Yeah. But we knew they were engaged. They got engaged at the Golden wedding, I think at Gary's wedding. And Teresa?
Still, I'm never over that. Like, I hear that he asked permission to propose at Gary and Teresa's wedding, but I would kill you if you propose to somebody at my wedding.
Again, I don't mean to be, the guy showing the mirror to the audience. But a lot of people didn't like Braden. But this guy, I don't think this guy told one lie. I don't think he's
always been him.
He's always been him. Listen, I made fun of how he dressed and his look, but he was always honest to himself. Like that was the look was never to get followers. He was a travel nurse. Like he's got a good career. He goes to Nashville. He starts dating a single mother. Like
I know.
Like let's give Braden some credit here. It seems to be on social media. Who knows what that means? But seems to be a part of the daughter's life, and part
in
of
a big way.
They formed a family. They seem to have fun. But there were Braden haters. And this is a moment where start writing your apology letters.
I'm one
Braden.
Of them. I feel
this
like
guy's
I'm
a
one
good
of
guy.
them.
This guy's a stand-up. Anyone should be lucky to date a guy like Braden. And when Christina's been very nice to me. She came to my show and when I was in Nashville and was very nice and sweet. But and even her, she got shit. For going on the show, and she was using her last name, and she's a daughter of a famous singer. But these two, there's a group of people that watch this show to see love happen.
She was the original last name girl.
Right. And these two did what people want from the show. I want messy, but some people, they want love. And I got to say, Braden, it seemingly told no lies. Because
I'm impressed.
It's not like he's a full-time influencer. This guy's still working, still a nurse. So I don't know. It's when I heard that they were married, I was like, this guy, he was everything he said he was.
It is funny
and look
seeing
at
them married.
Look at all these people that hated on him. Bunch of
hated
assholes.
on him. It was me. I remember hating on Braden.
Get that pen ready.
Inked it up.
Start writing your apology, Kay. All right, so now we go to the show. Let's recap this episode. We start with Grant. I got to say, I think Grant has very little to say. I think the people around him, his family, they are all fun characters. They all have a lot to say. He drives his Ferrari. What do you think of this? He has a Ferrari.
Either this was a house that was completely rented by producers to put the families up in, because we've heard that a lot. Sometimes there's Airbnbs, but then you see the Ferrari and it's like, where did he get the money? Because I fear that he's not getting it from his work.
Well, day trading, he might, people make a lot of money in finance. I don't know what type of trading he's doing. He was a professional basketball player, but he played overseas. I don't think that. Let me just say, I saw the Ferrari and it got mentioned a couple times over the course of the episode. And then he said he has a secondary car that he can use as the dad car. It
was a Mazda or something.
Acura. So that ain't a cheap car either. So I went and looked up. I'm not a car guy. Are you a car person, Kay?
No, I mean, I have a very interesting car, but it's not, I'm not like a car girl. Yeah,
you have a hot pink Mini, right?
Mini Cooper convertible. It's very Barbie, and it has my name on the license plate. So to an extent, I am a car girl, but only for the attention.
When Kay arrives, you shall know. It is.
I get pictures taken of my car when people see it out on the street, and they're like, "Are you here?" And I'm like, "Yeah."
It's a parade float.
I
went and looked up the price of a Ferrari. Entry-level models start around $250,000. Okay.
What?
While high-performance models and limited edition cars can cost over $500,000. So let's say he got the minimum $250,000. $250,000 on a car. Just light it on fire, done. After taxes.
That's crazy.
It's crazy. I think it's even crazier to not be talked about. You're going over this who's Grant Ellis? We have this whole segment. We go to this. He pulls a Ferrari into a castle, and I've heard the thing about the Airbnbs where they rent, but you don't have to get a castle Airbnb. So so why?
That's true.
Right. Why are we at this one? And to have it not mentioned, I mean, like, we're trying to figure out the whole story of, like, who these women are, like, trying to get with is actually crazy to me. And then, Grant, when he talks, he's very lovey-dovey. He says, this guy says all the right things.
It's a lot of love bombing, though. This was something that I had kind of written down as I'm watching the show. It feels very love bomby, even more than the usual Bachelor realm.
Okay, right. I mean, he's saying things like, I'm getting married, I'm having the kids, I want to be the father, I want to be, and we meet the mom, who seems very nice, the grandma, who was fantastic, the grandma dressed as, she looked like the, pull the lever, who's that?
Trunk. What's her name? Oh my God, I can't think of her name. From Emperor's New Groove.
Yeah, she was dressed as a, it felt like we went to her for a tarot reading. And then we get to his dad, who shows up elsewhere. So we find out that their parents were married for a number of years, and then he goes to college, they get divorced, as a lot of divorces happen. The kids go to college, we get a divorce. And the dad, it must be, I don't think, it must still be something, because he meets with the dad elsewhere in another place.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like, oh, the dad can come over. We're still sort of like a Joey and his family. The dad was still welcome over with the mom, and it was fine. This felt something, they were at like a playground.
So we have to assume like this divorce is still like hot and fresh, and he mentions that his dad's an addict. His dad is just a beam of light. Just, you can see the dad loves his son. Like, it is.
Yeah.
Didn't you walk away from that being like, look, this dad, like, is he trying to marry?
I know. It made me.
Grant?
It made me feel really good, because you hear about the 30-year addiction, this and that, this could have gone two different ways. But now we know it's not Grant that doesn't want his dad around or whatever. It's clearly like a family issue, but Grant still has that love for him, and you can really feel it back. And it was a very heartwarming moment, which made me want to root for them even more.
Right. And it's interesting. You see this thing with Grant and the whole family, and Grant's just like, it's a lot of surface level, like he's playing basketball. And this always happens with the lead. Like, I don't want to sound like I'm being hard on him, because he does seem like a nice guy. It's just like, I was watching this being like, man, I just want the family more. Like, I want the grandma, I want the mom, I want the sister. The sister's great. Yeah. And we get more from her later in the episode. We'll talk about that later. But so it's just a very regular meeting. Plus a $250,000 Ferrari that we're just supposed
just like
to
hanging in the background.
Right. We're just supposed to not think about that. We're not on a show about marriage, where money is a central point of a lot of, money is the root of a lot of issues in marriage. We're just going to not mention.
But if I'm one of the girls and I'm watching this first episode right now, I'd be like, fuck.
Right. What am I?
This guy has money. I should have tried a little bit harder to cause a little less drama.
Right. Am I dating like the heir to a fortune? Like, what's going on,
Right.
Let's get to the women, because I thought the women were good. They were very, I would love to hear what you think about this, because I was thinking a lot about this. I think the women are like so much more ready for TV now.
They do feel trained and PR trained, and just like very aware. And I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing. I haven't been able to like read that yet, but I do think that they are very aware of their surroundings at this point. And I think Grant is too, a little bit.
Right. And I think that, it's the TikTok of it all. Like, people are on camera. People are face to camera. People, you have people on this show. I'm a luxury travel host. I'm you have the brand manager, Bailey, who's like a social media manager. She's, and I don't know. I was thinking a lot about that, because I was like, these women are very good at this, but I'm like, maybe it changes how the drama comes. Like, it used to be that first episode, someone gets too drunk, there's fights, and it's just like, the baby cries itself out immediately.
Yeah.
Now, the way this episode worked, it was like, oh, we're getting a taste of drama, not a lot, but it's going to come later in maybe a more depthy, crazier way, you know?
Yeah, they're testing the waters a little bit now.
Right.
And I do think a lot of these bits and maybe fights down the road or like sound bites down the road are going to be very, I don't want to say thought out or planned, because you obviously can't plan that, but you can plan like social moments. You know, there's going to be clips from the show posted on TikTok, posted on Instagram. People are going to be memeing it. People know this. So, I mean, even with us with the podcast, we're like, here are the sections that we're talking about. This would make a really good social bite. How can I work this into my relationship with Grant or on the TV show, on The Bachelor, to make it a good social bite, to give me more press?
So this is an interesting theory you bring up. You're basically saying that these women or people that go on the show are so, you know, aware of how a clip is made and what the storyline is. And it's almost like the evolution of Here for the Wrong Reasons is what you're saying. You're saying they know how to make a moment, so they're waiting to make their moment. It's like AI evolving.
It's like
and
marketing.
Smarter.
It's like,
yeah.
It's really, really targeted and thought out marketing, because at the end of the day, that's what these people end up doing. Regardless of whether they think they're going to or not, you're going to be doing an ad. You're going to be working with Roadway Moving. You're going to be you're going to be that person, and that's okay. But I do think that at this point in our reality TV society, this is what's happening.
It's a great point, because it's just, there has to be evolution. We don't, what goes up must comes down. Mm-hmm. Things evolve. And yeah, because I'm wondering, like, we used to have this first episode would be wild. It was like a bunch of cats running around. And now this was so put together. This was, even them, the way they say, we have such nice women here. No one makes a problem. We all are cheering for one another. They make a point to say it a lot. Mm-hmm. And it is interesting. It's like, if you're here for the wrong reasons, you're not going to blow your load on this episode. You're not going to be that loser. On the first one, no, you want like a 6-episode arc. Yeah, you want the Maria, the Maria treatment. You want, so we get to the limo entrances. Rose, the nurse, will you accept this rose? What did you think?
I love her right off the bat. I thought she would be a kind of a dud at first, just by going through the profile, but seeing Rose and her personality, and then what we saw throughout the episode with the rings and I really like Rose.
She was the clay woman.
Yeah,
she did. Yeah, that
was an aggressive.
Her clay dildo was crazy. I was like, I wanted to be like, Grant, take off the blindfold. You got to watch this shit.
I was clutching my pearls.
Hands. I was sitting there. I'm like, Rose, I'll give you a rose. Yeah.
Double fisting it, too.
Double fisting. Grant made like a very subtle little tiny ring. And then she's got like a big fucking dildo. Yeah, it was crazy.
I was thinking about what her strategy was. I was like, I think we could have taken a little less clay. But she's like, no, we're using all of it.
Strong hands on Rose. I like when you use the name. If you're named Rose and you go on The Bachelor, you got to use your name.
You have to.
Latia, she gets vulnerable. She's bad at basketball, but she brings out the sparkly basketball, and she's a devout Mormon. What did you think? And we meet her family with the horses, and she was born in Hawaii, and her dad passed, a tragic story. But then they moved to Utah. What do we think?
I mean, I like Latia, but I genuinely cannot get past her entrance when she was walking up to Grant, because I personally felt so awkward. The way she was holding the ball and like scooching forward and trying to keep, girl, just
show the ball.
Show the ball from the beginning. It was such a weird approach. It made me feel weird. And then the whole time they were talking, I was like, oh.
The Mormon thing too, I don't understand how you can be devout Mormon and go on this show and like, there's going to be talks that need to be had. And it's like, it's a little bit like if a guy did this, you'd be like, what's his deal? Because it's a woman, she like comes on, you're like, oh, she wants to find love. It's all in the eyes of romance. But I'm like, logistically, like, we're going to have issues here, no? Like, if a Hasidic woman came on, I'd be like, what's going on?
Right.
So, I don't know. I just think, again, this show has a lot of things that don't make sense. But okay, so we have Carolina, or is it Carolina? Carolina from she comes in speaking Spanish. I love the Spanish bit.
Me too.
I love the Spanish bit. I love that they put it on the screen. It was fun. It was quirky. She seems to have this like spunk to her, very, very Puerto Rican in that way. Like just like if you've dated a Puerto Rican woman, like these, just like the I'm gonna give you shit is like very prevalent. I liked Carolina.
I liked Carolina a lot. I think, I love the coming and speaking a different language. It feels like a bit where you're kind of teasing them. Like it's a fun jab.
Allie Joe pulls up beeping in a Jeep with Jersey pizza. Always the Jersey people do these pizza things.
She's gorgeous.
I don't know. She's beautiful. I roll the Jersey thing.
Gorgeous. Wow. Yeah.
She. I mean, we talked about it last time. She looks like a Saved by the Bell like
character
doing an arc on that show.
I know.
Dina, the blonde, who one of 11 family. Parents were immigrants. I think Dina gives off I'm not happy to be here vibes. She's got like this coldness to her, and I know she's the lawyer. She's kicking ass, but like it just doesn't seem like she's there for the girls, so to speak.
Yeah. I agree with Dina. She seems a little almost too serious. And I fear that's going to really hurt her in the future. Because if you can't even have a little bit of fun with this or a little bit of fun with the girls at the beginning, this is just going to get really bad.
It's going to be exhausting for you. I feel for you. Allyshia does the genie in the bottle. It was fine. But Allyshia seems to be a player on this. She looked amazing. She was wearing the all white. She had the hair up. Alyshia's gorgeous. She also says that she doesn't kiss on the first date. Then she ends up being the first one to kiss him. And someone even said to her, she's like, that's who gets the first. That's who ends up kissing. And I think when you listen, say whatever you want to say. Well, I'm just saying, you can't kiss the guy and then go, I don't kiss on the first date. You just did. The thing to say to the guy is that this was such a nice, and she says, I'm glad we did. She says nice things after, but like, you have to, at that point, that's not your personality anymore. You don't usually is a good way to put it. Like, it's not like, I don't know why. I don't know. I get like,
or I try not to, or
it's like one of those dating app things where someone's trying to tell you who they are versus show you who they are. It's like, right now, the big trend on TikTok is like, why are you funny? And then it's like someone writes like whatever happened to them in their life. And it's like, I hate a trend like that. I think it's like, I think anyone who says that they're funny is the least funny person in the world. And like the whole trend is like, and then everyone tells you all the trauma. And I'm like, go fuck yourself. To me, like, that's a similar.
Me too.
Yeah, we're all funny. Everyone's funny. No one's not funny. But it was the same thing for this Allyshia, where I don't kiss on the first date. Well, you do now. We found a new personality unlocked.
Zach Shellcross saying, I'm not going to sleep with anybody, and then does.
I guess you do.
I guess you're going to.
Oh, so Alex enters with the llama. The llama then becomes a huge part of the episode. Linda the llama, the No Drama Llama. No, people don't know if it's a llama or an alpaca or a donkey. The llama was actually necessary for this episode.
You think it was necessary?
If we didn't have the llama, this should have been an hour episode.
Actually, we wouldn't have had anything. Yeah,
we would have had anything. Right. The llama having lines. It was fun. It was light. I think if we didn't have the llama, we'd be like, is this Grant guy going to talk? I actually thought the llama. At first, I was like, oh, okay, we got a llama. And then I was like, the more they went to Linda the llama, the more it came up. It made me like Alex more, and it made me and it made me like the llama more. Yeah,
it really made me like Alex more because at first with the llama, I was like, okay, this is really fun, and then you get Alex by herself, and she was kind of too all over the place. She was talking too fast, but she leans into that and was being like, I'm a speech. She works with kids. She talks a lot, teaching people how to talk. It kind of like gave me anxiety watching her interact with him a little bit, but then having her interact with this llama back and forth, I really think this made her stand out overall, which, you know, in the end, she gets the first impression rose.
Listen, if you have to tote around an animal, a wild animal, throughout this mansion, you have credibility, you know, like to do what you're doing it all at that point. Juliana comes on, talks about her Italian roots. She's the Boston girl. She's from Newton. We see the big family. They're in the car with the grandma. They're singing. Juliana seems like she's going to be a major player here. He's really into her. Bailey Brown, she does the social media manager. Bailey comes on with the selfies. You loved her.
I loved that bit just because if she's going to be the social media manager, lean into your strengths.
Don't avoid it.
And this was also like the perfect, you know, Instagram boyfriend. And I love that she was like, I wanted to know if we could take a picture, and she's like, no, of me. I thought that was great.
Bailey was great, and I also loved her one-on-one with the Bob. I thought that was actually hilarious. A wonderful way, because you go from like, I'm into like social media, which can be seen as like, you know, not very depthy. And then you're like having fun with the wig. He's wearing the wig. You know, she has a very specific haircut. Like I thought, I loved that. I was into so that whole thing. And it was cool that she had this other gimmick. You know, like it wasn't just, you know, it wasn't just her doing social media the whole time. It was like, okay, let's get a selfie with the Bob, you know? So we have Serafina walks in with a huge blow up of Grant's face. She comes in with a one of those fat heads.
Those fat heads.
This was the point where they kept doing like, all these entrances are so wild. They're so crazy. And I want to be like, she went to Kinko's. Like, there's not a lot. There's a llama here. There's not a lot. Like, I don't think these entrances weren't like this wasn't an all-time wild episode.
No, but it did feel like there were more crazy. It felt like the beginning, like 3 or 4 were kind of tame. And then it just like went off the rails into like, who was the girl from Vegas who came out with the bottle service? And I mean...
Right. I think it was Vicky.
That was Vicky. She's the bottle girl, but she showed up with the bottle girl sign in the car. Right. I thought that was a really fun thing too.
That was fun. I just like none of these were beyond going to Party City. Like the idea that like, whoa, these entrances, what the lengths people went to. It's like, no, they went on Amazon and ordered a fucking, you know, sign that said Grant on it, you know? Like, so Savannah is the wedding planner. She brings the wedding cake. I mean, the top of the wedding cake looking exactly like both of them was pretty cool. Zoe then brings the t-shirt.
You thought it was cool. I thought it was, especially when she ends up walking in on Grant with somebody else, and she has the pie in the face, or I guess the cake in the face moment at that point. Right. I'd be like,
She never really got to do her bit with the cake. Like she was, and someone even said they're like, oh, she's gonna they're gonna feed it to each other, and then she walks in. He's making out, I think, with Vicky.
I think it was Vicky. I think you're right.
And our last woman is Zoe, who comes in with a t-shirt gun. I love a t-shirt gun. I think a t-shirt gun just makes people like turn into like the wildest form of themselves.
And the bit was funny.
The bit was funny when they were shooting it off. They almost took off people's heads. Like that was hilarious. Like just shooting it wildly. Like they're on the couch. That almost hit like 3 different women.
I know.
Like,
it was that was a funny bit. We see a lot from Zoe, and I can tell there's going to be villain moments with Zoe already.
What about Zoe made you think that?
There were just moments how she interacted with the girls. It was very like me. Well, I'm gonna do what it felt very much about her.
I had a moment where I agree with you because it was a very specific moment. She shoots a t-shirt gun, and it's a picture of her and Grant on the t-shirt. They have merch now, as she said. Chloe, the plus-size model, who's being fun and awesome, puts on one of the shirts, and you could see Zoe was like, "What the fuck are you doing in our shirt?" Like
shirt off.
There was a moment there where I was like, she's not happy that they are now in the same shirt. Like she's like, "Are you making fun of me?" We were on the precipice of drama. I could feel it.
Would you be mad about that?
No, that's why it was so crazy. I was like,
Right.
oh,
Okay,
I think
'cause
the
I was
Zoe
like-
chick. Yeah, no. Because Chloe puts on the shirt. Like, why wouldn't she? She's like, look, and I found the shirt.
It
And
also
then
took
she's
off
like,
my
what?
head. Almost took off my head. Like, let me at least wear it and
It
say
felt like
I'm not worried about this.
Right. There was a moment where I was like, is Zoe like upset that she's stealing her moment? Like, I was like, it did. You get a little taste. Like, I was like, I can
Zoe's
taste something's
on the shirt.
off.
Zoe needs to chill because you were literally on the shirt that she's wearing. Like, it's not that she changed the face or crossed you out.
So then Grant walks in the house. He gives his big speech. The big speech, it is so funny to hear him give this big, glamorous speech about wanting love and family. And you see these women just looking at him like, wait a minute. Like, you could see the look in their eyes was like, wait, so love isn't sending fire emojis to my Instagram stories?
I don't understand.
Like, right? What? It's deeper than that? Like, it was like Grant had a little bit of like, I'm here to save you from this horrific dating scene that you're stuck in.
Honestly,
that was like his speech.
That was his speech. But hearing him talk at the beginning and how many times, like, we could have played a drinking game with how many times Grant mentioned wanting to have kids and wanting to have babies. In my head, I'm thinking at the end of this show, it's no longer the goal is to get engaged. It's whoever gets pregnant first wins.
Right.
That's how everything was about kids.
It's the thing. Everything was about kids, and it's the thing that you go, is Grant setting himself up for a problem post-show? Because you've said it, man. This is what you're looking for. So if you leave here not married, we will think you were pulling a fast one. Like if you and I think that's why Joey was so good at doing the job. He didn't say much to that nature, but he was looking for someone to be a partner. And I think if you go into the kids and stuff, like, now he's got to have kids. Like, I mean, there's one woman.
Now.
Right. So the first person to pull him is Bailey Brown. She steals him. They do the Bob thing. Parisa shows her rock collection, and then she does they do a PowerPoint where she's AI'd pictures of them at their wedding and having a baby. I thought it was fun. It was a fun way to say something that her and her friends do together. They do a lot of PowerPoints together. I could see that where like a close girl group would be like, we're going to do a PowerPoint on
it's a trend.
Whatever. Is it a trend?
So that's another thing that I like, these moments that you're seeing from social media. At least this is on my algorithm. I get these PowerPoint trends where their friends meet up and it's like, say you and I met up and I'm going to rank your worst girlfriends from like best to least. And I have a whole PowerPoint on it. And then it's sort of like a board night, like where everybody brings their own like cheeseburger board or tomato soup board or whatever.
These would only work on TikTok for women.
They're very funny.
Right. No doubt they're funny. Like, I've seen the PowerPoint where like, and now it's been done a few times where it's like, my mom doesn't understand movies, so I make a PowerPoint. My brother makes a PowerPoint with the movie, the teacher with it. So this was very much in that vein for Parisa. Allyshia shares that she was raised by an immigrant single mother, very cuddly, and then they get that first kiss. They say they love funny movies and rom-coms, and they're like, yeah, The Notebook. I'm like, that is not a funny...
That's not
the
a rom-com.
Dementia Woman movie? Like, where was...
I fear that's not a rom-com. If you're crying hysterically during most of the movie, I don't know.
What are you, the Golden Globes? You don't know what a comedy is? Like, that's like... I was watching
The Bear
that.
being a comedy makes me physically ill.
They do that every year. Every year they have these serious shows. Yeah, I was watching that. I was like, that to me, that's why Allyshia like is playing the game. Like she's like, if someone says I love rom-coms and you're like, and then they go The Notebook, you'd be like, is that a rom? You would call them out.
I guess it's a conversation starter. Like, it keeps it going, but I would think you were you were confused.
I never kiss. Now you kiss. Like, all right. Okay. Claws start to come out as the women see the first kiss happen. I don't know if claws came out as much as it's like the game has begun. Yeah. People are going home tonight. you prepared for a week to come here or months or whatever, and now you might be going home. Like your Instagram post is going to be one Instagram post, not many. Juliana plays the piano with Grant, and he's into that. We see the family.
I thought he played the piano.
I think we're going to see that later in the season, but we didn't.
But he acted like he was like, she has talents that I don't have. But I thought he was playing the piano, but maybe Juliana is on this date with them in this like random like Gap store playing the piano. Like there's like clothing.
That's in the previews.
It's in the previews. Maybe it's Juliana playing because he was acting like he's never seen anybody play the piano before in his life.
He was very impressed by her piano skills. We go back to her house. We see the big Italian family, the carpool karaoke with the grandmamas. What would you do would you do a carpool karaoke?
I would. With my family?
What's the song you and your family are singing?
So I saw this, and it's funny because my family and I are not singing in the car. It's usually my dad humming some sort of thing that he made up, and my mom telling him to shut up, being like, stop doing that. I don't think we're ever listening to music in the car as a family singing along.
If my family were to sing anything, it'd be a commercial jingle that was on for years and years and years.
Like on the radio.
It'd be like 1-800-54-GIANT. Done right, done fast. Like it would be like a glass commercial.
Is that a real one?
Yeah, that's a real one. Bernie and Phil's quality, comfort, and price. That's nice. Like it would be like a local commercial. I don't even know if I'm saying the words right. Like, I just know the tune. Like this is, again, I haven't heard those commercials in 20 years. But like if I was to sing anything in the car, it would be a commercial jingle. Yeah. Carolina has the one-on-one. The Grants they get very cuddly. They have an emotional conversation about how much their parents meet. She starts crying. She's in Tearville, USA.
Right off from the jump, and I can tell this season's going to be a wet one and not in the way we want it to be.
She's a passionate. No, not in the fun way. Not in the fun way. She is a passionate Latina woman, and I liked it. I'm a Carolina fan as much as Grant.
I am
too. Grant. So the drama. So this is the part of the show that we wanted to get to. At some point, he's doing a one-on-one with Dina, and a woman walks in. They don't show her face, and she struts in, and all the women are chirping. They're like, who's this woman? She's beautiful. Oh, my God, this woman just came in. And we find out that it's his sister.
Right.
This was the moment that I was thinking about how camera ready everyone is. Like, his sister's not a host on red carpets.
No.
But now she's hosting The Bachelor, like the biggest network show. Like, and she does a great job. Like, she's actually amazing. You're like, the sister just waltzes on to 8:00 on ABC Monday night and is now hosting the show.
Yeah.
Couldn't believe it. And she's beautiful. Mm-hmm. And then the women, when they're chirping her and they don't know it's a sister, I mean, the things they're saying are actually a lot. So one variable happens and suddenly she walks in vagina first.
I heard that and I was like, oh.
Walking in vagina first is like, to me, like one of the more mean things you could say about a new person who walks into a home, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's I guess it's mean, but it's kind of like one of those mean, but she's like owning the room. Like, I think that's what they were kind of saying, but in a
but there's a way to
vagina first is crazy.
You have a choice to say it like, oh, she really strutted in here, didn't say hi to any of us. Like, that would be like, that would have been the way to like explain what's going on. Hey, why that woman who's like hot just walked in here like kind of angrily and felt like she owned the place after we like have established these are the women. To say like that woman walked in vagina first, you're like, whoever said that, do we know who said that?
I don't remember.
Allyshia?
Oh, Allyshia.
Allyshia, Miss I Don't Kiss on the First Date, Like, to me, that tells me this person is going to have be involved this season. Like, she came here to play. She came here to win. The Notebook. Oh, I never kissed on the first date. And then all of a sudden, this woman walked in, just pussy out first.
Something's
like,
off.
What?
Something's
right, we're not
off.
getting the real Allyshia.
No.
That's my feeling based on that.
No.
We did meet her earlier in the episode. I was like, that's a sister. Like, the way they, like, kept her face away from everything. I thought it said a lot about how, finally we've smoked out the people who are claiming to be, like, nice to everyone. All of a sudden, they're not nice. Yep. I thought that was a great move by them. I also think it showed that, like, Grant doesn't have a lot to say. We got to bring in the sister who's, like, this, like, fun, energetic person, because she added a lot of energy to the show. She did. Like, she shows the picture from being a kid, and he's like, I'm so embarrassed. I don't know why that's embarrassing to anyone. Like, that's
not embarrassing. Like, it doesn't. Right. It's not like he's in the bathtub, like, ass out. It's just
even so, like, as a baby, like, who would care? It's not like it's like, there was nothing embarrassing about those pictures that I'm like. Again, this is kind of felt like Grant just saying the thing he's supposed to say. Oh, my God, what am I going to... My sister's making me look like such a nerd in front of the 25 women who can't wait to fuck me. Like, I think you'll get over it, Grant.
You'll be fine.
So then the first impression rose comes out, and we are informed that the first impression rose will also get you the first one-on-one date, which is a huge deal.
Yeah. And I didn't think of it as much of a big deal as I do now, because at first I was like, okay, well, I mean, who cares? But I do remember, if you think back on multiple seasons, the people who get the first impression rose are always feeling some type of way down the line. They're like, I feel like I'm in the background because I got the rose and then now I'm not getting any attention. So this could really set Alex up.
And I don't know the data on this. I'm sure Bachelor data would have this, but like, people who get the first impression rose generally do well in the show anyways. Like, they go a long way.
The first impression rose for the Bachelorette, I think, had a really high like winner percentage on the Bachelorette. I don't think that it's that anymore, but I remember for a long time, if you got the first impression rose on the Bachelorette, you were almost automatically chosen in the end.
Right. So not only have you caught a vibe with someone, but now you're going to like get to like dig into the vibe and go alone on this magical date. So like, it is a huge deal. He ends up giving it to Alex, who's with the llama, and it makes sense. Like, and I walk away from this, like, I don't think Grant's going to be the type to like go on a date with a woman and be like, you got to go home. We're not going to get married. Like, I don't think we're going to get that. We're not going to get a lot of surprises from him. He's going to be straight down the middle.
Can I be honest, though? I think I had a really hard time figuring out who he was going to give the rose to. I don't think I had any. Yeah, the first impression.
I'm with you.
I thought he liked so many different women. There were a lot of women that he really clearly was into that I was like, I have no idea. This could go to anyone.
It's funny. I agree with you. I didn't know who the first impression rose was going to go to. When it went to Alex, I go, oh, okay. But it wasn't a surprise, but it also wasn't something I knew was coming. I'm with you.
Right.
Then he gives out his roses, and he has a type. And Grant and I have very similar types. You can tell. If they have some curves and like a little bit of like a darker complexion, he is in.
Into
him
it.
And I,
locked in.
Him and I, because I could see the women he sent home were like very fair. Like, it was a look that he sent home. And a look that he kept.
Savannah, the girl that I said I knew was going to be a night one girl, went home. The
Game
wedding
over.
planner. Bye. I felt
the
it.
Wedding planner, the girl who looked like you would party in her basement.
Oh, yeah. The one that Christina.
They all had a similar look. To me, I was like, I looked at who we chose, and I go, Grant and I, we have the same.
We're aligned.
We are aligned. We are heading in the same direction with our choices. So so we have a lot of tearful goodbyes. Who are your top picks for this episode? Who's your go-to?
Allyshia is definitely a top pick. I think she's going to be a major player. I think Zoe is going to be a major player, and then also Alex, first impression rose. Alex was a surprise to me. Like, she does not look like or seem like the person. Like, she looks like she'd be very timid. And I was very surprised at her super outgoing personality and how she carried a lot of the show to get her the first impression rose.
I thought Grant's family were the star of the show. I also thought Bailey Brown, she was fantastic. Yeah. Carolina, she was fantastic. Zoe is like a 10. Like,
Zoe's a 10.
I can't take my eyes off her.
She's going to be a major player, I think. A really big, whether it's good or bad. I do think there's going to be some villain moments with Zoe. Right. But she's going to hang in there for a while. Really
into Chloe, the model, the plus size model, really into her. But, you know, it is interesting. You know, we talked a lot about, like, what's the season going to be? It feels like a slow burn. It feels like that woman Rose, like, you look at the previews, she's like a major part of, like, this season. It feels like, you know, it feels like Grant is a side character on his own season based on these
very much so. Very much so. And I think because from the beginning, how you and I both weren't sure who he was going to choose for the first impression rose because it seemed like he liked so many people. I do think that is setting us up for the final episode where we see him being like, Jesse's like, I need to know who I need to send out of the limo first. So you have to choose. So I do see that foreshadowing.
But when I see that, I'm like, this guy might fuck himself. Because, like, that. Well, then what? You're going to have a baby with the woman that you were like, I'll go with A over B? Like,
and
like you have to have a baby.
This after. Like, the other women, the other woman that you didn't choose or the woman that you chose, they're going to see you struggling. And then that were me, and I see the man that I've been engaged to in secret at this point for the past 3 months, unsure if he's going to pick me or not until the final hour, the final second, I'd be like, okay, wait.
He better take her for a nice ride in that Ferrari. That's it. We did it.
We did it. All right.
Yeah.
So we actually have an interview with Grant coming up.
Yes, it's going to be a bonus episode.
And you can follow us on Instagram at Always On. You can follow me at K York City. And Jared, what is going on? Where are you going to be? What's the status?
Going to be in Montreal this weekend, and then I'm coming to New Zealand and Australia. So if you're international, if you're in New Zealand or Australia, I'll be there. If you have friends in those areas, let them know. I'm going to put on a great show, so jaredfreid.com for tickets. I'm very excited to travel abroad and see some kangaroos. Otherwise, this was great. What a way to kick off a season.
Kick it off. All right, we'll see you guys next week.
The Betchelor Podcast is produced and edited by Jazz Zapatos. Social media by Candice Maniga and Samantha Bush. Guest booking by Shanice Kelman. Be sure to follow The Betchelor at Always On.